So I'm not sure if you guys remember or not, but these 3 windows that we're working on right now, they're our last 3 big windows to install, and they were changed after we had framed and spray foamed this, building. They were changed to be smaller. Since we don't have to really worry about too much structure, we're blocking and putting a new bottom sill on, and this should allow us to obviously put the correct size in here. We've got this little gap here that's got to be filled. We'll get some large gap closed cell foam sealer. It's not worth me bringing my spray foam guy back just for these little tiny areas. Yeah, we're gonna let that expand and harden, and then we'll throw another layer in there. Cool thing is, got a new tape that has just entered into the existence of what I know. I've never seen this sort of tape before. It's made by SIGA, the same people that made this bottom tape. Greg and I traveled to Switzerland. We didn't get to spend much time in Switzerland. I don't know if by the time this comes out that I'll have done a video on that trip. I don't even know if I will do a video because we were only there for 1 day, but we did get to take a tour of the SIGA factory. And we learned some installation methods on how Europeans install their windows. And there was something specific that I really liked, and we're gonna be using here on site today to seal off these windows. So if that interests you, just hold on, it's coming. Okay. Got it? All right, so we're installing this door here. This concrete is
not that bad.
Not bad. So our other door, we had a little bit of an issue. We had to tweak the door a little bit to make it work, and it's fine. It's gonna be perfectly fine. However, it made our job a lot easier, or a lot harder. It's a lot easier if our concrete is good. So this concrete is good. I'm gonna go ahead and make a scribe line on the face of our wall. And this is where we're gonna be placing our double beaded butyl tape. And this is what we like to use because it gives us a nice bed to push our door sill into, so it's not kind of moving around. And we'll seal up nice also under that compression pressure to not allow any water in. All right. So the nice thing about the pellet doors that I like is that they've got the nail fin. So it automatically sets you really good and close to where you're gonna be, holds the door in naturally. We got a little bit of a south breeze, so it's just gently hitting this window or door and keeping it from falling out. Now what Greg's doing on the inside is setting up the laser to give us a plumb line right up our hinge side. I mean, the sill feels really solid. I'm gonna go ahead and put some screws in. Greg, do me a favor, take a tape measure to your top and bottom corners. Tape measure. Give me a dimension on the jamb.
It's like 2 and 7/16, 2 and 5/16, 2 and 7, 2 and 5.
Okay, so it looks, I can actually see that. This one is in too far. That's why I wanted to check. It needs to come out a little bit. Okay, now we gotta just get some shims on our jamb. I'm I'm gonna come on inside there, buddy. So you can probably see the laser here, and that's running up this jamb side. Now anywhere that we're heavy, we're gonna go ahead and put some shims. So definitely here in the middle on this hinge, it's just slightly heavy. This is the beauty of a laser, man. I kind of like that, huh? Go ahead and set that laser up for that side. And I'm assuming it's gonna be pretty good, but you know what assumptions do. But I'd say it's pretty good. You might just do a little something here. Yeah. Jeez. We done this before ever?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why I'm teaching you on my YouTube channel today. All right, so we got the inside, we got our jambs. Everything is really nice looking. Oh, but I was going to first check square. So something that you want to do when you install windows and doors. We're going to come from the top. 37.25. Not 37, I think it was 87, duh. I'm not sure why I said 37. 87.25. So we got lucky on this one. It's installed good. I'm gonna go ahead and nail it off. Now we've got the door secured. Good Lord, I hope it's good because I just put a lot of nails in it. Now we can go ahead, get the doorknob on so we can open it up and finalize all the installation, get all of our jamb screws in, and then we'll seal tape it. Super simple, man. These pellet doors do install quite nice. They've got shims in around the door to keep it exactly where you want it, so the install is quite easy. I do like the pellet doors, and I think a lot of doors do this, where you lift it up and it secures both a top latch and a bottom latch, and then you push down and it's good to go. So you know, it is a learning curve. If you're not used to this sort of system, you come in and you try to yank the door open, you're only gonna lock it. That is kind of nice. So this Fentrim tape from SIGA is pretty awesome. Just learned about this a little bit ago when I took a trip to Switzerland. And as I open it up, you're gonna see this. The tape cover is here. This is the, I think they call this the carrier. This is, oh no, sorry. This is the carrier. It's like a meshy material. And the adhesive is between this layer and then this peel layer that is actually just kind of protecting the adhesive. But the magic and the reason I love this tape is this right here. This little flap is going to be the game changer if you need to seal tape onto your door jamb. And the reason you're supposed to do that is because this nail fin is embedded into the aluminum frame. However, that's not a perfect seal. There's always a potential for leak. That 1/2 inch folded flap adhesive is now attached perfectly to your jamb. You know, if you're used to using, you know, regular seal tapes and having to put a little fold over manually and make that happen, it's very tedious. It's hard to do if you're not, you know, used to it. If you don't have a lot of experience behind it, your tape can look really crappy. That's what we did here. This is all regular seal tape and it's flapped over and it looks pretty good, but it took me a lot more time. And even if I'm not skilled, who cares? If you're really skilled, this is still going to be a quicker way to go. Now all I'm going to do is take off this backing. And I'm just using my hand to get it set, but you're going to want to use a squeegee or a roller to get this adhered really well. Nice thing is this tape also is extremely good at sticking to unprimed concrete. So down there at the bottom, I left it a little bit long and then I pushed it tight and I'm adhering it to the concrete, which is going to give me an additional seal down there at the bottom. And it's very malleable, so I can kind of just work it around these corners, push it in tight, and get a good seal. Now up here at the top, I'm gonna cut this on a slight angle, not quite to the point. That way it kind of stretches over the corner. You know, one of the things a lot of people were asking me on social media, Instagram specifically, when I talked about this tape, is how does it perform in cold weather? Well, today It's probably high 20s right now, Fahrenheit. But I will say this, when I was in SIGA for their factory tour in Switzerland, they had a test that we performed, and we actually pulled tape out of a freezer that was reading negative 32 Celsius, I do believe, and we adhered it, and then we tried to pull it apart. And if I can think about it, I'll throw a clip in here showing that test. I think I have that content. It's pretty awesome. Long story short, yes, this tape works phenomenal under cold conditions. Oh no. Yeah. So I'm gonna take my camera here and I'll show you a little bit of the difference. So here we're looking at a traditional seal tape. I think you can probably see that. And we've wrapped it up around the jamb. And this can be quite daunting, but I think we do a pretty good job. It lays pretty nice, looks pretty good. This is the Fentrim, and look how tight this is in the corner. And this was effortless. This really was quite easy. And maybe you don't care how good your tape looks, how well it lays. You don't care if you get some wrinkles in it. But this stuff just does a really good job, and it does it with very little effort. So there you go. SIGA. And see if I can get that to focus. And there's the name Fentrim. So SIGA Fentrim. Now when we install our siding, we're going to be putting on some aluminum head flashing up above these doors and windows as well for a mechanical flash. This is all kind of like if stuff gets behind our siding or during the construction phase, it's going to give us, you know, obviously an added weather protection, but for the life of the building, the goal is for this adhesive tape to provide a nice air barrier and moisture barrier. So Fentrim, they do make different types of Fentrim. They make two different types, and one of them is for the interior and one is for the exterior, because you have a different level of permeability that you require from the outside. You don't want moisture coming in. You want it to be able to escape out. So I'm sure that makes sense. So make sure you get the right Fentrim. Talk to SIGA, they'll help you out. All right, so you can see above me here, our HVAC guys are getting a lot of this ductwork done, and as they get it installed, we can frame around it. So here, this is the office, and we are going to be dropping the ceiling to obviously conceal the HVAC system. Now, because of where it was installed, it just made sense to drop this whole ceiling. It's still gonna be about 8'2", 8'3" or so once I frame this in, which is, you know, still plenty doable. Yes, 9 foot would have been nice, but we really needed a spot to run the chase for all of this supply and return that's going to go up to the HVAC system in the second story. So this was really the only place to do it, but it worked out good because no common area has to be soffitted. We've got full height everywhere, but in the office and in a couple of the closets. So I'm going to set a laser up so I can figure out exactly where my height is, and then I can start my framing. Now this is just going to be a reference for now, so it doesn't matter a super ton. We're just going to go ahead and put this somewhere in there. All right, so now what I can do is some of these low points, like these screws, I can just do a check. So here I'm at 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches, inch and 7/8, 2 inches. So that tells me I could probably go up a quarter. I don't want to be touching the ductwork. I don't want to be that close. So I'm going to go up a quarter of an inch, and then that will be where we frame to. Actually, I'm going to go up 1 3/4 inches, and then I'm going to drop all my framing to that point so I can hang my studs exactly where they belong. I'm going to get a bunch of blocks. 8 3/4. All right, 8 3/4. So I'm gonna cut a bunch of 8 3/4 blocks, and that's what I'm gonna frame frame the ceiling too. I'll get those installed to the laser line. Then I can cut my ceiling to fit, and they're just gonna get screwed up. We're not gonna get crazy here. All right, so now I'm gonna take my blocks and I'm gonna put them right to this line so that I'm just barely seeing the laser on my block. Now you'll notice that I'm starting here in the back corner. And the reason I'm doing that is so I don't cover up my laser. So if I start here, it's gonna potentially block my laser over here. All right, now that I have these blocks up, you'll see the laser line going right through all these bottoms. Now I'm gonna take my LDM and just quickly and accurately check my measurements. Looks like 511, what we got going on here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I need 10 of them. So I'll go cut all those and then we'll nail those up. But we're not done. That's not it. We still got a little bit more work to do. Hopefully if I did this right, these are gonna just go right up in there, nice and snug. And these are gonna get, I'm just gonna go ahead and put a nail for now on each side. And I'm doing that because I'm actually going to use screws just to hold it together a little bit better. Screw does have a little better holding power, but the important thing, you'll see this laser running right across the top of this board. That means that board is nice and straight, and we want it to stay there. I'm not real comfortable with this, so we're going to add some additional framing to help support that. That will come by way of more of these blocks. So now that right there is going to be nice and solid. You might see the laser moving around just a little bit. It's because it's not actually really secure. It's kind of on like a little bit of a floating platform on the wall, but I can't show you guys that laser. That's a prototype. It doesn't come out till third, fourth quarter this year, so I'm getting to play around with it, but I'm not supposed to show you guys. So hopefully you haven't seen it in any of the videos because I don't want to get in trouble. I made sure that these framing boards here for the ceiling are lined up right on the edge of my floor joist. And the reason I did that is because I can take a block, I can screw it right here in the face. But now what I can do is, this is a nice awkward one here, guys. Hey Greg, might I maybe get your eyeballs? Right there, up a little more, right there. That was a struggle.
Why is it shaking so much?
Because that thing is like barely even there. It's like rocking. So any movement rocks it.
Next one?
No, that's all I needed because I couldn't do this, but here I'll be able to hold it. I can get my hands in there. I couldn't get in here. I can't do this and a screw, so I had to come from above, which meant I didn't really have the leverage to do it. Thank you. Appreciate that. I just said thank you, man. What do you want me to do, give you a hug? You never would have lasted as a 90s kid, Greg. So I don't know. I think that lasers are just super handy when framing. They really just take a lot of guesswork out of things. Now I am using ring shanks at least, but I will come back through this and add more fasteners. Beautiful. So I'm just gonna go ahead and finish doing that throughout this whole ceiling, and that is gonna add plenty of strength. This is only a 5 and 11-inch span, so just under 6 foot, and it's just gonna be hanging some 1/2-inch drywall. So I wanted it as close as possible here. Otherwise, I might have ran these on edge and just put them on both sides of a stud like so and nailed it in. That would have been a lot easier, but I think anytime you can get as much ceiling height as possible, you're better off, and we're not sacrificing really anything here by running these studs flat. Now you may be asking yourself or wanting to ask me, why didn't I run this middle framing board at the same time I ran the perimeter boards with the laser so that it was all done and I just had to push this up and nail it off? Well, I think that this is a little bit more accurate, probably unnecessary, but I think it's a little bit more accurate and a little bit more easy, because when you're doing the boards on the sides, you can just set them against the wall. You have something solid, right? When they're here in the middle, they're just kind of hanging down, And so depending on the angle, if it's not perfectly plumb, it can change the location of the bottom when you come put it and frame it to this board here where it's supposed to be. So they were all figured to be flush with the face. So I know it's flush with the face. If I just kind of didn't have this board here to screw in first, they might have just got a little off. Probably doesn't matter, but to answer the question, because it might come up, that's what I did that for. All right, guys, so I'm upstairs here, and behind me you'll see that chase that is coming out of the ceiling in the attic, and it's going down through our floor, the second story floor, and into that soffit that I just got done building. So this was not originally planned to be here, and this door, we had to move it. So what I did was I shifted it over so that it was equal spacing on both sides to where this chase was for the supply and return of the HVAC system. Now this is the mechanical room, and what our mechanical guys have done, they've left the plenums, or I don't know if these are actually called the plenums, but the duct work that is going to go into the furnace, the HVAC system. I've got to do some framing around this so that the drywaller can hang drywall, and they'll cut the drywall around these ducts, and then we'll have to do maybe some sealing to get it to, you know, not have air leakage into the attic, even though it is a conditioned space. That's with the spray foam everywhere. That makes that attic a conditioned space. You can kind of see the system. It all runs up into the attic, and then that's where it's dropping down into the second story. But then also we've got this line here, and that runs, get you around, that runs the length of the attic, and that's what's going to be dropping all of the lines into the ceiling for the second story, as well as this great space here. There's a bunch of, I think there's a couple different register takeoffs that are going to go out and get piped into the ceiling over here. But what I really was going to do was I was going to come up here. You know, my camera wants to dim the light in here because those windows are so bright. And if I could get it more natural, this is not my typical camera that I use. You'll have to take my word for it. It is super bright in here now that we've got all these windows and doors installed. And I'm really excited about that. Get the material up off the ground. And all we are doing in here at this point is finishing blocking, and this ceiling will have to get framed, but we've got a bunch of stuff down here that we're just trying to use up so we don't move it twice. You know, we're not in a super big hurry to do this ceiling here over the great room because we're going to actually be installing, most likely, 99% sure, we're going to be installing a wood ceiling. So the drywaller will not be doing that. We're going to be sheathing it, and just, since that's a conditioned space up above, we don't have to worry about like an air seal or a vapor barrier on that ceiling. We're going to sheathe it with probably some OSB, and then we will use that as a surface to install, most likely, a cedar wood ceiling. So very cool. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. But it's really looking good up here, man. We've got all of this framing done. The last thing I think I have to do up here also is frame in the shower. So in the bathroom, I still got to frame the shower in. But other than that, I think we've got everything basically completed. We're just waiting for the mechanical guys to finish up, and then we'll come back up here and frame in around the stuff that they had to cut out of their way so that they could run their ductwork. I don't know if I've talked about it, but this is actually a fireplace. So there's going to be a hearth with a brick wall or stone wall right in between those windows and doors. That'll go all the way up, and there will be a wood-burning fireplace here. So that'll be pretty darn cool. But there you go, guys. I'm gonna use this staircase now that we've got it installed, and man, that is so nice to have. And I'm gonna go ahead and clean my stuff up, get out of here for the day. We'll be back tomorrow, wrap up this framing, and then we're gonna be moving outside, guys. We're gonna start working on the porch. We're gonna start working on siding, and the goal is to finish up the exterior while the subcontractors, we've got mechanical guys, plumbers, electricians, and then drywallers, they're gonna be in here doing what they need to do, so we can just be outside doing our thing. But I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. If you guys would, and if you are enjoying the series, please, think about hitting that subscribe button so you can follow along with the channel. Maybe give me a thumbs up on this video if you enjoyed it. And I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. Thanks a lot. We'll catch you on the next video.